protect their dairy farm, and we're going to take over.
BYU football prepares to write an exciting next chapter in the Utah State rivalry book this weekend.
You really want something to get done, you can make it happen.
BYU Surf Club makes history as the first landlocked surf team to ever participate in a surf competition.
BYU Athletics Director Tom Holmoe has always been creative and incredibly detailed in his past Halloween costumes, and this year is no different. I'm Blake O'Rulian.
And I'm Paul Swenson, and it's time for SportsLine.
Paul, how's it going?
Good, man. Welcome back. We missed you last week.
Little fist bump, not 100%, but feeling better. Did you have a good Halloween?
It was good. It was a sad week without you and without a BYU football game.
No, absolutely. However, luckily, we are able to say that rivalries are always a big deal in sports. BYU takes on Utah State this Saturday on the Aggies' home turf in hopes of snapping their 2-game losing streak.
That's right. Reporter Sarah Hosayan is here to break down this rivalry for us. Sarah?
Well, the battle for the old wagon wheel has been going on since 1922, so it's safe to say that these teams have some history.
Fakes the handoff, and it's picked off!
The past 2 years have been rough for BYU. In fact, Utah State has won consecutive games against the Cougars for the first time in 44 years, last doing so in 1973 and 1974. In 2017, BYU lost 40-24 in Logan, and again in 2018, 45-20 at home. That being said, the coaches and team feel confident that this year will be different.
The main goal, though, is to try to get the result that we want in Logan.
We're coming in the game focusing on what they're good at, and we're going to stop what they're good at, and the offense is going to focus on what their defense is good at, and they're going to find a way to score on their defense.
The Aggies are currently on a 10-game win streak at home and have put up 60-plus points in 5 of those 10 games. But Coach Satake doesn't seem fazed by the Aggies' domination in Logan.
They play really well at home, and they're capable of putting up a lot of points, and so defensively we have to be on top of everything.
The Cougars plan to build off the momentum from the win over ranked Boise State and have had ample time to prepare.
It was a bye week, but it's a get better week too, and so I felt like we got better this bye week we had, and we're ready for Utah State.
The players are excited for the rivalry game and the hype and talk that surrounds it.
I actually seen something on Twitter that's like that Utah State's going to come out playing like they're protecting their dairy farm, so that's how I feel like they're going to come out ready to protect their dairy farm, and we're going to take over.
Even though there's a lot of talk, the team is still ready and dialed in on leaving Logan with the win.
It's a tough task, but we're ready for it and looking forward to the opportunity to play against them.
The battle for the old wagon wheel begins Saturday at 8 p.m.
Thanks, Sarah.
The BYU men's basketball team kicks off their season with an exhibition game tonight against UT Tyler. This is the first time we will see many players in the blue and white, along with the new head coach, Mark Pope, on the sidelines. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. at the Marriott Center. The men's team officially opens their regular season next Tuesday against Cal State Fullerton. The 2019 campaign started off great for the BYU women's basketball team.
15 seconds on the shot clock, and a turnover and a steal. Drollinger going all the way.
They hosted Westminster College this week in an exhibition match and defeated the Griffins 69-61. Led by seniors Brenna Drollinger and Shalay Salmon, the Cougars got it done in comeback fashion. The Lady Cougars are back at it tomorrow afternoon against the University of Antelope Valley at the Marriott Center.
The number 4 BYU women's soccer team heads west this weekend to take on San Francisco. The Lady Cougars took a win over San Diego 3-1 last Saturday. Currently, the team sits at first place in the WCC rankings with a total of 16 points and a 5-0-1 record. Tomorrow, the Cougars take on the Dons at 7 p.m.
The BYU women's volleyball team defeated St. Mary's 3-0 last night in a Halloween-themed match. Sportsline reporter Karani Namunyu went to the game to tell us why it was a special win.
Dressed in all kinds of Halloween costumes, the fans cheered the women's team to victory in a game that was played here at the Smith Fieldhouse on BYU campus. The Cougars started their first set strongly before St. Mary's pushed back, coming closer to leveling the points at 11 against BYU's 13. Blocker Heather Nating was instrumental in pushing BYU forward to 23 points. Coach Heather Olmsted attributed the performance of the team to good defending, passing the ball well, and being assertive throughout the game.
I thought we put them in some tough positions with our serve, and that gave us opportunities to get a lot of block touches, and I thought we blocked a lot of balls. I thought our passing was pretty good, so our setter was able to put up some nice hittable balls where we got a lot of people involved offensively, and I think we took smart swings high and around the block and through the block, and so I really liked our offensive effort and our defensive effort. It was a pretty clean match for us.
The volleyball coach expressed her satisfaction and hope that the team will keep up with its good performance. Heather Nating, a sophomore who played a vital role in the win, echoed coach sentiments. She says their serving and defense strategies gave them a win.
I think we did a really good job of just serving tough and playing defense on our side and just playing our game and not letting them affect how we play. And so I was just really proud of our team and how assertive we were.
They have won 12 matches in a row against St. Mary's, and this marks their 1,300 all-time win. The women's team continues to stay hot, being ranked 11th in the nation. The women's team faces Pacific on Saturday, November the 2nd at 1 p.m. It's going to be a family day with a variety of pre-game activities, along with a $1 hot dog special.
Thanks, Karani.
It was a great week for the BYU women's golf team. Not only were they competing in Kapolei, Hawaii, but they also placed second at the Rainbow Wahine Invitational. The Cougars shot a combined 10 under par in the last two rounds of the tournament to finish with a total score of 866, just 3 strokes behind first place Sacramento State. This was the conclusion of the fall season, with play resuming in the spring. BYU will compete next at the Lambkin Invitational on February 10th. Yesterday was spooky for most, but dominant for BYU men's tennis as they continue their run at the Jack Kramer Invitational. 4 out of the 7 Cougars in the round of 32 advanced to the singles round of 16, and 4 pairs advanced to the doubles round of 16 at the Jack Kramer Invitational yesterday. The singles matches continue today, while the doubles matches will take place tomorrow at Rolling Hills Estates in California.
Part-time students and part-time surfers. Brigham Young Surf Club is the newest club on campus that made history this past weekend. NewsLine reporter Eliza Fellows introduces us to the first landlocked surf team to ever participate in a surf competition.
If you really want something to get done, you can make it happen.
That was Christian Boca, one of the founding members who wanted to bring a piece of home to BYU campus.
This all started with a big group of us going down to Mexico and just having a good summer trip.
There we were all upstairs kind of just talking and joking around.
And that is when they all began to think.
Hey, we all go to BYU, we all love surfing, why don't we do something about it and make something happen?
This is where it all began. The BYU students then started organizing the club, named the club, created an Instagram page, held weekly events, and even created officers.
Just decided we could still make it happen, even though we're nowhere close to an ocean.
So they found their own ways to practice here in Utah.
There's actually a little river wave in Spanish Fork that we've surfed before. And we plan on going up to other river waves.
And they also use a tarp wave.
Oh, the tarp wave. You just take a tarp, preferably a blue one, put it in the street, and then you let the wind blow into it, and you pull it over and it kind of feels like it's a wave.
Christian and 5 other members of the Brigham Young Surf Club competed in their very first competition this past weekend. Not only did they place 14th out of 31 teams, but they made history.
It was the first time that a landlocked school had ever competed in a surf contest.
The team's league consists of 31 schools that come from Santa Cruz down to San Diego, and even schools that travel all the way from Florida and Hawaii.
I mean, we didn't win, of course, but it was definitely a good result for a team that hadn't surfed in 2 months. I think it's really taught me that if I really love doing something, I can really make it happen no matter where I'm at.
Thanks, Eliza.
The BYU athletic program continued its Halloween tradition last night, hosting an annual trunk-or-treat activity in the parking lot of the Smith Fieldhouse on campus. Dozens of BYU athletes greeted Cougar fans and thanked them for their continuing support of BYU athletics.
There aren't many days a child looks forward to more than Halloween.
You guys look so cute.
The costumes, the decorations, and of course the treats combine to make October 31st one of the best days of the year.
Well, hi there. How are you?
As if the day could possibly get any better,
Right there, buddy.
thousands of young kids also got to celebrate with some of their favorite BYU athletes.
There you go.
Fans lined up at least a half hour before the event even began, anxiously waiting for their opportunity to meet with players and fill their Halloween baskets. As fans lined up, student athletes from various BYU teams lined their cars outside BYU Smith Fieldhouse for an epic trunk or treat, BYU style. After the Cougarettes greeted fans at the beginning of the line, players from men's and women's basketball, men's volleyball, gymnastics, softball, baseball, swim and dive, and cross country and track and field all welcomed Cougar fans. Even Cosmo made an appearance and gave kids a chance to take some candy and take a tour through his very own Cosmobile. As fans made the loop, BYU Athletics' biggest hype man and community relations coordinator, Jack DeMooney, made sure there was enough candy to go around.
Come down the other one. I reach over there. Get you something.
After making sure all fans had a chance to meet the athletes and get some candy, the night ended just as quickly as it began. So now the countdown to next year begins, with only 364 days to go until October 31st.
Yesterday marked the 4th year of the BYU Athletics Trunk or Treat, and the school plans to keep the tradition going. I've already marked my calendar, and you know where I'll be next Halloween.
And BYU's athletic director Tom Holmoe surprised campus once again with an epic Halloween costume. This year, Holmoe came to campus dressed up as the genie from Aladdin. Since 2013, the athletic director is known for sporting the most dedications when it comes to Halloween costumes. Other costumes include the Mad Hatter, Albert Einstein, and a crowd favorite, Voldemort. Last year, Holmoe won Sports Illustrated's Best Costume for an Athletic Director with Ernesto de la Cruz from Disney's Coco.
Real Salt Lake Academy High School opened their doors 3 years ago.
We'll tell you what new addition is changing the game for female soccer players.
Aladero. Rui Diaz gave his mark of the slip and equalizes.
We'll tell you who made it to the MLS Cup and how they got there.
And I'll tell you about the new NCAA law and how people on social media are reacting.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
$150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
The BYU Triathlon Club is one of the hardest working teams on campus because of the physicality required to finish or win a race. SportsLine reporter Sierra Phipps went to see how the team prepares for events.
With 4 different types of triathlons, the team normally competes in the standard or Olympic triathlon.
2, 1.
The team competes in 4 different triathlon events, but more often the standard. The distances of the 4 races vary immensely. Josie Huntington, the women's captain for the club, shares in detail what some of these triathlon distances consist of.
You got the Olympic, which is the one I normally do, which I did last Saturday, did an Olympic down in Las Vegas, and that was a 1.2 mile swim, 26 mile bike, and then a 10K run.
The race last week took a few of the club members to compete in the annual Las Vegas, Nevada Pumpkin Man. Club president Mitch Crane says that competing is his favorite feeling because he is so competitive.
My favorite part about competing in triathlons, a lot of times it's the feeling after finishing of just knowing what you just accomplished.
A triathlon is one of the most difficult races to compete in because of the different types of workouts required to prepare for before the races. The team works out together every day and sometimes twice a day.
So my week for triathlon team usually consists of swimming Monday, Wednesday at 6 a.m. for an hour, running on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Friday running for 30 minutes, and then doing core for 30 minutes.
Although the Triathlon Club is not an official sport at BYU, they work just as hard as the other athletes to compete well in their races.
So the Triathlon Club is different from other sports in the fact that we're just a club on campus. We're not allowed to compete or travel or do things like that. So we just work out together, do things together. But as far as going to races, those are individually done or done as groups of friends.
The club is open to anyone who wants to participate, and for more information, we'll find them on Instagram or Facebook under the tag BYU Triathlon. Back to you.
The Student Wellness Center department is now offering a meditation class on campus. Reporter Sydney Smith visited the class and tells us what the meditation class has to offer.
Meditation is the practice of reducing stress while practicing mindfulness. According to the students I interviewed, meditation has had an incredibly beneficial effect on their lives.
Here's what a typical day in a BYU meditation class looks like. No shoes, no devices, and no stress.
We start off at the very beginning of the semester working on some mindfulness practices, just learning to work with our awareness, being aware of the way the body feels and experiencing each moment the way that it is happening.
Jason Isert says meditation especially helps him in school.
Often a lot of students get really stressed out, and through meditation I found that I've had increased focus when it comes to projects and tasks that I'm working on, increased memory, increased productivity for sure.
Jerem says he has received a lot of positive feedback from students.
I've had some of my students that have told me that they've struggled with a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, and this is the one class that they said, this finally there's something that I can come to and I can let go of all of my other worries.
In fact, Curtis Hansen, a graduate student here at BYU, told me that meditation has helped him with his PTSD.
Meditation has basically given me control of my life again, and I had to really take the courage and branch out and try this stuff in order to heal.
We've been told several times in Scripture that by the small and simple things are great things brought to pass. This is one of those experiences.
If you're a student and interested in meditation, you can sign up for the Winter 2020 class now. And if you're a staff or student who just wants to see what it's like, Jerem teaches a Thursday night class at 7 p.m. at the RB every week. Reporting for Sportsline, I'm Sydney Smith.
The Washington Nationals are World Series champions.
3-2. There it is! The Washington Nationals are world champions for the first time in franchise history.
The Nationals beat the Houston Astros 6-2 in Game 7 to clinch the title. They were behind for the first 6 innings before earning their 6 unanswered runs. Pitcher Steven Strasburg was given MVP. It is the first time in World Series history that a team has won the World Series without winning any of their home games.
In an AFC West showdown, the San Francisco 49ers beat the Arizona Cardinals to remain undefeated through Week 9.
Garoppolo, Pettis, touchdown.
Niners quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo was on fire, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Former BYU Cougar Fred Warner led the Niners defense with 9 tackles. The Niners now look forward to a Week 10 matchup with a much-anticipated Seattle Seahawks team.
The teams for the 2019 MLS Cup are set after this week's conference finals. LAFC started the game against Seattle with a wonderful free kick from Edward Atuesta, but it couldn't last. Seattle responded with a goal from Nicolas Lodero and 2 from Raul Ruiz Diaz to beat the team who was heavily favored to win MLS Cup and take their place in the final. In the East, Atlanta scored early but were denied a second goal from the penalty spot. That miss costed them as Toronto equalized less than 3 minutes later and scored the winner in the second half. Real Salt Lake Academy High School opened their doors 3 years ago, offering hundreds of kids the chance to eat, sleep, and breathe soccer. But this year will be a little different for them. Reporter Lindsay Peterson tells us why.
Liv Watt has always loved soccer.
Well, I've been playing soccer since I was like 3 years old, and I've just always loved it.
So when Real Salt Lake Academy High School opened a few years ago, just minutes from her house, she knew that was the high school she wanted to pursue her soccer dreams at.
When I heard about this school opening up, I was only in 8th grade the first year it opened, and so I just knew that I wanted to go.
But this year was extra special for the new charter high school.
This year we're full-fledged members of the Utah High School Activities Association.
Last year we played, but none of our games really counted since we weren't in a region. And so last year they were more just scrimmages getting us ready for this year to go to the state championships, which we did. And so I'm really proud of like our team, and I'm just glad that we got to participate in that this year.
The campus has a stadium that holds 5,000 people, 5 grass fields, and an indoor practice facility that has 2 full-size soccer fields.
And those fields are better than anything you'll ever play on just out in the regular world, so I think I've never seen anything like our fields.
With the state-of-the-art soccer facilities that the Monarchs, the Royals, and even Real Salt Lake all train on, this high school has nowhere but up to go.
We get to practice every day, and so it's part of like our class curriculum that we're able to practice and train on the fields. And so just being able to be in a facility like that and train and work hard is just, it's an incredible experience.
Reporting in Harriman for Sportsline, I'm Lindsay Peterson.
The NCAA Governing Board will allow college athletes to be compensated for the use of their name, image, and likeness. Following a unanimous vote on Tuesday, we turn to Hayden Wallace to show us how people have been reacting on social media. Hayden, what have people been saying?
Yes, just pure controversy about the new changes from everyone. Lawyers, politicians, and athletes themselves have been speaking out, each one offering their own take on what will happen. Let's start with the man who had a big part to play in the whole thing, NBA superstar LeBron James. He said on Twitter, "It's a beautiful day for all college athletes going forward from this day on. Thank you guys for allowing me to bring more light to it. I'm so proud of the team and Uninterrupted bringing focus on this, and to everyone who has been fighting this fight. Not a victory, but a start." An interesting take came from college football analyst Mark Richt, who said on Twitter as well, "I predict a lot of high-level athletes will stay in college if there are no limits to what they can make, as many as the most marketable in their careers during college. Even the highest level athletes may stay if they enjoy the college life and endorsements that go with it." However, interestingly, one of the biggest talking points is the excitement that is surrounding the possibility of a new NCAA football video game. Let's take a look at this post from ESPN on Twitter. Now that the NCAA voted to allow college athletes to profit from their name, image, and likeness, could NCAA football make a return? With all these changes, it's hard to know what will happen in the run-up to it, but one thing for sure is that we can hopefully expect a new game coming up.
Coming up, we'll look at our top plays of the week.
We'll show you which soccer players dominated this week's rankings.
You can achieve a lot using your imagination. I mean, I don't like to brag, but... Wait, who's that? And why is she all over these achievement awards? But with STEM, the sky's the limit. Shaboom! Use STEM to envision... Okay, I'm seeing it. Yeah! Invent...
Got any ideas?
I've got a few, actually. And create a better world.
Told you she's super smart.
If she can STEM, so can you. Find out more at She Can STEM.
Hey, Kevin, you thinking about retirement?
I'd love to, but I'm pretty busy with all this.
Yeah. Hey, let's meet our retirement coach, Avo. A is for taking action.
Not anxiety?
No, Kevin, you're gonna be fine.
You sing?
Barely. V is for variety.
And you dance?
Sort of. Come on. O is for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today.
Nice.
Thanks.
Here are your top plays of the week.
One more cross. There's the shot. Oh, he's done it!
Coming in at number 3, Liverpool forward Divock Origi scored in the 94th minute to tie the game against Arsenal 5-5 in an English Cup game. Liverpool would go on to win in penalties.
Nick De Leon, no way through as he's turned around. And De Leon from distance! Oh my goodness!
Coming in at number 2, Nick De Leon picks out the top corner with the winning goal of the Eastern Conference Final in MLS between Toronto and Atlanta to give Toronto a place in the MLS Cup Final.
Rashford hit it well! Oh, amazing! Oh, that's Ronaldo-esque!
And coming in at number 1, an absolutely gorgeous free kick from Manchester United's Marcus Rashford. He scored both goals in United's win over Chelsea in the English League Cup. All right, it's time for matchups for this week. We have got a lot of good stuff. BYU versus Utah State going up to Logan, as well as Georgia and Florida for a big SEC matchup. Paul, who do you have in BYU-USU?
Okay, I'm going to take BYU in this one. Hear me out for just a second. BYU played really well, obviously 2 weeks ago against Boise State. Coming off of a bye week, they've had a lot of time to prepare. Utah State had a lot of hype going into the season, but they didn't play too well in their last outing against Air Force. I like BYU in this one in the rivalry game to go up to Logan and get a win.
I don't know. I think Utah State has this one. I did my story on it. I've done my research. They've on a 10-game home win streak. So I think Utah State is going to come out with it.
You know, typically I like to play devil's advocate, go against BYU. But I think after they win against Boise, I think BYU's on a good streak, and I think they'll do well against Utah. So I'm cool.
Great pick.
I got to go with Utah State for this one. 10 games at home in Logan. Utah State is very good at home, very tough to win on that field, as well as BYU doesn't do very well coming off of bye weeks. Their loss to South Florida this season on their first bye week. I've got Utah State winning this one. All right, let's jump into the SEC matchup of the week. Florida versus Georgia. Paul, who do you have?
Okay. I'm going to take Georgia in this one. I think that their loss to South Carolina was a bit of a fluke. I think Florida's one of those teams that's just always overrated. I like Georgia on that one.
See, I gotta disagree. So I'm from Florida, so I'm a big Gator fan. So I'm going with Florida for this one. They're ranked higher than Georgia after their loss to South Carolina, and their schedules are similar and the records are similar, but I ultimately have the Gators winning.
Yeah, I'm with Sarah as well. But when it comes to football, you know, my knowledge is very limited. I also have family in Florida, so that's who I'm going with.
Yes.
And I'm going to go with Florida's defense, or Georgia's defense to win this game.
Great pick. Let's take a look at what we got going on in BYU sports this week. The BYU men's basketball team will be in action tonight in an exhibition game against UT Tyler. The women's volleyball team will continue their conference play tomorrow afternoon with a home match against Pacific. The women's basketball team will be playing tomorrow at 2 against the University of Antelope Valley. And tomorrow night, the football team will travel to Logan in a battle against Utah State for the old wagon wheel.
That's Sportsline for Friday, November 1st.
Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day, and don't forget, go Cougars.
Yeah, I gotta go. I think that this